These best-selling authors all did this. Use this strategy in your writing too if you want to pull readers into your story from the first page. Be sure to keep watching to find out how to start your first chapter and write your first words. I'll tell you what you should think about and have in mind and the components that lead to a great first page hook. And later on, I'm going to have a go at writing some captivating opening paragraphs with you to help you and me nail tip number 4. When readers open a book and read the first page, they want to know the rest of the book will interest them, and there is a reason to keep reading. They want to read something that hints to a question or a situation that will be answered or resolved in the rest of the book. So tip number 4 is create intrigue and tension in the first page. Later I'm going to look at some basic genre plot lines and write some opening paragraphs for them. But first, how do writers do this? What should you think about when you sit down to write your first page? Number 1. First, you should have a plot storyline, a sentence summarizing your novel without giving away the ending and resolution. See my book writing tip number 3 for how to come up with this line summary to hook your readers and a publisher. So if you haven't watched that first, go and watch it and then come back. Number 2, include something the character or characters are grappling with. This not only creates interest, but can show what's going on for your characters and how they are reacting. The start of character development. Number 3, open with enticing dialogue that immediately establishes tension. Make sure it is enticing and not irrelevant twitter. Number 4, use a titillating prologue to showcase your villain or something crucial to the story and interesting that happened to the character some time earlier. Hey, but remember, some writers and editors don't like prologues, and it's not always possible to bring the protagonist in at the beginning. Number 5, show your hero being mistreated by the world and make your reader sympathize. Most people love cheering for the underdog, especially if they are likable, and injustice riles many readers. Number 6, hint at a situation that needs resolving, the inciting incident, the event that upsets the status quo and sets the story in conflict in motion. Number 7, have your character say something profound, something that is the key to what they face in the story. You must introduce your main character and establish a time and a place. Set the tone, conical, serious, light, dark, everyday, hint at the story to come, and show you are a good writer. Don't open with a dream sequence. This can be confusing and frustrating for readers, and it is also a bit cliche-ish unless done in the right situation or context. Don't be unclear in any way what is happening. Avoid using too many names right up front, confusing and hard to read. Readers shouldn't have to pause and look up your character glossary. Don't tell a lot of backstory too early. Have some description, but not too much. Sometimes we'll write the first page, but it will change once we've done the first draft and we see the whole story and plot in context. That's okay. I changed my first book several times during the editing process and realized while preparing this video that I need to change my opening in the novel I'm working on right now. We're all still learning and reevaluating our writing as we go, which is a good thing. I'm also learning all about how to create videos people in my niche want to watch, so thanks for tuning in. If my content is at all helpful, please like and subscribe so you don't miss out on further tips and good reads. Keep watching for 3 examples matching plot genres that I'm going to walk you through so you can hook readers in from the first page like these bestsellers. Remember my storylines? Well, here's one about the thriller suspense mystery. An adult daughter discovers her mother's rotting corpse, setting her off on a dangerous journey to find out who killed her and why. Right, so we start off with Victoria. That's the character. Victoria smelt it before she saw it. So immediately readers are going, there's something she's smelling, but then she's going to see something. It's in creating anticipation, and smelling something before you're seeing something is sort of like a bit of a warning, isn't it? She paused her journey through the small town Maryland house she grew up in, sniffing and gagging as the smell worsened. Okay, so now we've got a bit of the setting. She's from a small town in Maryland, and this is the house she grew up in. She's sniffing and gagging, so the smell must be pretty bad and it's getting worse. So what the flip, what are we heading for here? The lounge looked just like it had 6 months ago when she last visited. except that dead flowers and books from the nearby bookcase littered the grey-blue carpet and a drying water stain. Okay, so the flowers are obviously fallen over, and the books have obviously been tipped out of the bookcase. So why is that? If her mother's just in the house in her bedroom sick, that's not going to happen, is it? The stench was nothing like anything she had ever smelt in her childhood home, which usually smelt of lavender and sandalwood. And then I'll go on that she approaches the door and she has to brace herself to open it because she just has this feeling that's not going to be good what she's finding, and she knows that it's more than likely that her mother will be in there. So we've got emotion, we've got intrigue about what's happened to her mother. Is her mother dead? Probably if you've read the book description, you'll know that their mother does die. So this is setting up the incident that is starting the whole story and the whole plot, that somehow her mother dies and it's under suspicious circumstance. So we're getting straight to it, and readers know that this is what's going to happen in the book. This is going to set her off on this mystery suspense thriller, and we're starting right away, not mucking around. Okay, remember this one? A young duke and maid fall in love, despite conventions creating scandal and threatening to tear their hearts apart. Right. Duke of Brightfield, Lord Gregory Blampied, stood tall and rigid, gazing out the window of his estate, not seeing the neatly manicured paths and bushes, but deep in thought. Okay, so now we've got who it is, who one of the characters is, a bit of description about him. He's standing tall and rigid. He's distracted by something. He's gazing out the window of his estate, which is neatly manicured. So we're seeing the scene for that, describing that a little bit, not too much, just a bit. A knock to his study door jolted him back to the present. "You may enter," he said, his voice terse and tense due to the interruption. "Excuse me, my lord," Charlotte, the new maid, ventured, looking gingerly at the pattern on the burgundy carpet. Okay, so this is the maid. We're introducing her. She's obviously a bit nervous about having to do whatever her errand is to the Duke. So she's looking down at the carpet. Okay, I'm not going to write the next bit up, but I'll just read it to you. "What is it, Gil?" the Duke replied, stiffening and brushing his dark blazer as if to get rid of a piece of fluff. So obviously, he's obviously nervous, or it's a symbolic thing that she's a bit of a servant and he's just wiping her away. What's she to think? I don't know. Charlotte gulped. "Mistress Mabel asked me to tell you the horses need shoeing. As you know, sir, you dismissed the shoesmith last week. We need the horses shoed so we can travel to the village for supplies." Charlotte raised her head, looked up, bracing herself for a rebuke. Instead, the Duke's face showed nothing but softness and almost gentleness in his green emerald eyes. "Yes, it must be done. I will immediately replace the boy. Thank you for reminding me. You are dismissed." The last words came out of the Duke's mouth slowly, too slowly. Charlotte blushed and turned to exit the room as soon as possible. She paused, another part of her not wanting to go at all. The Duke's deliberate slowing down when about to dismiss her. What did that mean? A small part of her she tried to push down, wanted to believe this mighty man was gentle as he now appeared, and wanted her to remain. As she left the drawing room of the Brightfield estate, Charlotte chastised herself. How silly she was, her a servant girl, and barely a woman, sweet on a Duke at least 10 years her senior. Those sorts of dreams were fruitless, dangerous, and doomed to heartbreak. However, as much as Charlotte tried, she couldn't stop thinking about the Duke and hoping that her duties would bring her in contact with him again. So there we have, that's the crux. She's falling for him. Maybe he is interesting, his reaction to her. We're not quite sure what he thinks yet, but we know that Charlotte is a little bit sweet on him. And this is the build up to the tension. They're going to fall in love, and they're not going to be able to do anything about it because she's a servant and he's Number 3, the sci-fi fantasy. Storyline. A young Fenania, 1,000-year generational farmer is faced with a choice: leave his land or stay and fight the destructive force sweeping the land. Sabin studied the horizon to the east of the maze, swaying golden in a gentle breeze, his face twitching and his stance rigid. It was a month since the invasion he knew would change everything his family stood for and worked for over a millennia. Although the maze still stood fluidly like always, A casualty of the air currents and begging for harvest as it had for generations, Sabin sensed the end had come. The Blade Army were a ruthless company of drones and robot slashers, were swamping the region and systematically destroying everything in its way. Rumour had it the army was only days away. Sabin took a deep breath. There were two alternatives. He could stay and fight, hoping he could somehow fight this technological monster after praying to the gods for a strategy and weapons to compete. Or he could flee with his family before it was too late to attempt an escape. So here you have it. We've got the person, the main character, and introducing his land, what it's like, and a bit of slight little bit of backstory, not too much about his family been there for millennia, and a little bit of description, what's happened. There's been an invasion, the Blade Army, technological, sci-fi, horrific. He doesn't know if he can face that or not. He's got his dilemma about what he's going to do: stay and fight or go. And so now you know what you're going to get in the rest of the book, basically that story. Hey, thanks for listening and watching. And if you like my content, please be sure to like and subscribe. And watch out for tip number 5, where I'm going to outline how to write a book from start to finish.